few months ago on Good Day DePaul, we told you the story of David Krupa. He's the DePaul freshman running for alderman in Chicago. That in itself is somewhat incredible, but what's happened since is even more amazing. Good Day DePaul's Kayla Molander explains.
I thought that it was a perversion of democracy to only have one person on the ballot for such a long time.
19-year-old DePaul freshman David Krupa is talking about the ward he grew up in, the 13th, on Chicago's southwest side. The last time there were multiple candidates for alderman on the ballot was in 1991, before Krupa was even born. Krupa decided he would be the one to change that. When he told his lawyer, Michael Dorf, that he was running, Dorf gave him words of caution.
I knew he had an uphill fight when he told me he was running in the 13th ward, which has one of the strongest organizations in the city. I told him, this is going to be a very rough campaign. Your petitions are probably going to get challenged, and are you ready for all of that?
Dorf was right. Krupa's signatures were challenged, but the way they were challenged was something not even Dorf could have predicted.
I've been doing election law over 25 years. I have never seen fraud like this.
The possible fraud he's referring to is 2,796 of these, what are known as affidavits of revocation. According to Chicago election law, Krupa needed to turn in 473 signatures to get on the ballot. Anticipating a challenge, he turned in way more, 1,729. The situation turned strange when the Board of Elections received 2,796 revocation affidavits from residents of the 13th Ward, stating that they wanted to remove their names from Krupa's petition for candidacy. Technically, that's impossible. Somehow, more people wanted to revoke their signatures than the number of signatures Krupa originally collected, 1,067 more. And the irregularities don't end there. For people to revoke their names from Krupa's petitions, they must have first signed such a petition. But of those nearly 2,800 affidavits, only 187 of the people actually signed Krupa's petitions. Do the math, and it turns up 2,609 fraudulent signatures, which some feel could mean even more crimes.
Well, under the election code, every false affidavit is a separate felony. And solicitation of these false affidavits is what's called subornation of perjury, which is also a felony. There's also provisions in the election code that say that if you try to prevent someone from supporting a candidate, that's also a felony.
If each illegal signature is equal to 3 felonies, and there are 2,609 fraudulent signatures, that adds up to a lot of possible felonies. 7,827 to be exact. All of these irregularities focused attention on the incumbent alderman Marty Quinn and the 13th Ward committeeman, Illinois Speaker of the House Mike Madigan. DePaul adjunct instructor John McCarran ran the urban affairs section of the Chicago Tribune for about 20 years and wrote extensively about Chicago politics.
The fact that Madigan allowed his people, or was unaware of his people going out and getting these potentially felonious affidavits, the fact that he allowed that to happen is evidence of 2 things. One, it could be sloppiness. But what I worry about is also could be arrogance, that you have now in Illinois a political party that has veto-proof majorities in both houses.
After Dorf and Krupa geared up for a legal battle, the challenges to Krupa's petitions were withdrawn. That put Krupa on the ballot, but investigations are continuing. The Cook County Board of Elections turned the investigation over to the Illinois Board of Elections. The FBI then took note and opened their own investigation. Both organizations have a policy of not investigating as long as there is an active election. We should not expect to hear anything back until after the election.
And the election board is taking this very seriously, because this was not just a fraud on David. This was a fraud on the Board of Elections. It was a fraud on the entire electoral process.
Meanwhile, the whole process has been a whirlwind for Krupa. He was featured on every local news station, and NBC Nightly News even did a national story about him. Shortly after, donations to his campaign began coming in from around the country.
I don't know how many votes it's going to change. It gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars of earned media. It gave him name recognition that he never would have had. Whether it changes the votes that'll be something for us to see.
Even though the controversy has changed the narrative, Krupa's platform has never changed.
This is a grassroots campaign. I'm an independent. I'm doing politics as it should be done. What I'm doing is for a good cause, and it's going to help a lot of people. And I keep that in the back of my mind whenever they attack me or say something nasty about me.
Just the fact that someone got on the ballot, besides the incumbent in the 13th ward, is evidence that the old order is breaking down a little bit, and that young people coming up with different kinds of ideas have a shot.
Dorff hopes Krupa can inspire other young people to follow their ambition.
The system works. We're in a bad spot right now, but the system really does work. And if talented people, don't try to go into it, try to make a difference, it won't get fixed. But they have the opportunity to do it.
After fighting so hard to get on the ballot, does Krupa have a chance at winning?
Well, I don't think Krupa has a snowball's chance in hell of winning the election.
But some feel that asking if Krupa will win this election may be the wrong question.
Abraham Lincoln lost his first election. Bill Clinton lost elections. Losing an election by itself, it's a disappointment, but it's the experience that I think David will have through this campaign. I hope he wins. If he doesn't win this time, he's going to win another time.
There's no way to know who will be the next alderman in the 13th ward until after the election on February 26th. But one thing is likely. This is not the last you will hear of David Krupa. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Kayla Molander.